your host, John, once again. I've actually got Andy here with us, the developer of TFM. I don't think he knew I was going to do a live stream. I didn't know I was going to do a live stream, actually. I was sitting here, we're doing a flight. I've already taken off in this big old hunk of metal. No, it's a nice aircraft.
Yeah, the 1.7...
Do what?
1.7 million tons when it's full.
Yeah. I've got a pretty good load going here, too. And so... But I just said, you know what, I'm going to go live. And me and Andy chat here a little bit. And if he's here for the whole thing, he is. If he isn't, then things happen. But yeah, he's here now, so that's all that matters. But I'll tell you, I'm going to say this about the 748 right off the fly. For an aircraft that isn't locked fully into TFM, and what I mean by that is, when normally you do left bracket shift S, you can edit the speed, left bracket shift A, altitude, left bracket shift H, heading, and so on.
Yep, for the speed, yeah, the MCP boxes.
Yeah, and with not having that, this aircraft is pretty daggone outstanding. I mean, I took off, and it's just been flying perfectly. We got to a waypoint that said flight level 35,000A, and we was already at 38,000, but the aircraft didn't want to be there. It wanted to go up to 40,000. So we're cruising at 40,000, and it's going to be an interesting landing, folks. I don't know what's going to happen. Declan, me and Declan was talking. He's like, he says it's going to be fine, because it's going to do its descent. It just don't have this specific path that it's going to follow. It's just going to go down to get to that next waypoint. And he was explaining some stuff, like when you get to about 160 knots, drop your gear, you should be at flaps 20 by then. Some stuff like that. But, Andy, I must say, for this aircraft, when it comes time to program this son of a gun, I gotta ask, is it gonna be triple what the 7.3 was when it comes to like buttons and switches and all that? Let's talk buttons and switches. Let's talk about the internals for right now about it. Like, is there a lot more with the 748 than the 7.3?
Well, yeah. Well, both the 747 and the 748 are going to be 3 times as much work. Partly because you have 2 of everything on the 737, and 747 you have 4 of everything. Plus, as an estimated guess...
You mean the 740, not 37, 47.
Yeah, in the 747 and the 748, there are 4 of everything. In the 37, there's 2 of everything, so...
Mm-hmm.
So you have 4 engines you have to consider, but then at the same time, the 37 is generally pretty self-explanatory, because if you want to put it on the engine blocks, where you have all of the switches and dials and lights and things, there's 2 of everything.
Right.
So you have, when the engines come on, you have a series of lights that turn on to let you know that engines are good to go. And
sure.
747, you have a series of lights that come on that tell you that a series of lights have turned off, that tell you that a series of lights have turned on, that another series of lights have turned on.
Let me ask you this.
Your engines are now stable.
Yeah, exactly. But let me ask you, with like the 737, as far as we've came so far with the programming, like, let's talk about the lights for a minute. Or let's just talk about lights in general that come on the display, not like the outer lights, inner lights, but the lights that light up.
The indicators on the panels.
Okay, so let's say for example, in the 7.4, engine 1, you've got 4 engines, obviously, but you know how in the 7.3, it'll tell you when a light is blinking, because it'll say off, on, off, on, off, on. Wouldn't there be a way, and guys, I don't mean to go all programming on you just for a second, though, just a thought I was thinking about. Would it make it easier if there was a way for you to do that with the 7.4, but instead of having it have individual light on, light on, light on, light on, light off, what about a way where it would say something like, let's just say, I'm trying to think of an example of a light that comes on that would have 4 lights. What would be a good example? Let me think. Well, instead of it saying them 4 lights, they equal one thing, right? Like, I don't know. Like, okay, here's a good example. The auto land. You know how it gives you 3 lights to tell you that, you know, there's 3 green lights. It's a go. You know. Wouldn't there be a way, instead of having them individual lights telling you light on, light on, light on, like maybe something like, that's probably more work. I'm probably making it harder, so it's probably gonna be no. But like where it could say, you know, landing lights, 1 active, 2. No, you know what I mean? Like something that would help you reduce the amount of time that it talks for something that just says light on, light off. You know, light on, light off. It would just say 3 lights or 4 lights. You know, landing lights. 3 landing lights. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? Like, to reduce the amount of stuff that would make you program piece by piece. I mean, I don't know. Just a thought.
Well.
Or does that make any sense at all? Maybe I'm not making no sense.
So let me clarify. We'll take the landing gear lights from the 37.
Okay.
You have the nose light, the left tail light, and the right tail
there we
light.
go.
So TFM will already tell you when gear is up, which basically means that all 3 of those lights are turned off.
Mm-hmm.
If the landing gear is down, then all 3 of those lights are turned on. So in theory, you could just say, okay, forget the 3 landing gear lights, and TFM will just tell you if the landing gear is up or down.
Mm-hmm.
The problem that you have is TFM, when it tells you landing gear up, landing gear down in its current state, has no indication whatsoever if any one of those pieces failed. So you could say, for an example, all 3 landing lights are green, or all 3 landing lights are off. But then at that rate, you might as well just open the panel and look.
I get in the chat window up here. Go ahead. So in a sense, and what TFM is trying to do is actually represent the airplane for what it is. Right.
And tries to make no interpretations to what it's trying to tell you.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Because, you know, partly TFM doesn't want to be responsible for a misinterpretation somewhere, but at the same time, it's the pilot's job to figure out why the nose light didn't turn off when he pulled the landing gears up.
Right. Yeah, I was just trying to think of a way that might make it easier for you, is instead of having to have, like, you know, program every light by itself, there had been a way to make it,
and,
you know.
Yeah, well, and you know, it's actually easier to do it one piece at a time, one light at a time, one indicator here at a
Yeah, because I guess it kind of does give you a better, it gives you a better prospect of what everything is too, right? Like, you're really learning about the internals of this plane, really.
Yeah, not only that, but you also have different systems are dependent on other states of other systems.
We got 42 minutes till descent, folks. Yeah.
And so, like, for an example, the EEC panel is the electronic engine control panel. So if you interpret that or combine switches or indicators into one statement, but yet when you flip the engine switches to start and they slip back to off and you don't have any idea why, then you have to go back through the chain of panels, switches, lights, and indicators until you find the problem. You can't do that if everything is merged together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Well, you know, I know there's been a lot of people asking, you know, hey, I received a few emails, you know, which you already know about that, but the one thing that people have got to realize too is there's a lot of work behind doing all this. So you might say, well, wow, we already made it to week 8. Why are we not at 9? Look, we know that week 8 got here and wow, great, we're here. But we don't know the intel of all the work behind getting there. It's a lot. It's a lot of code, a lot of finger pushing. So I get that. But
it's a lot of if you can imagine you're an electrician and you're wiring a brand new house. And
wait, did you say you're going to build me a brand new house? You'll be my best friend?
Yeah, right, sure. I don't think so.
Hang on, worth a try, guys. I tried.
So if you imagine that you're an electrician wiring up a new house, you're at the circuit breaker box, which is the brains of all the electrical parts of your house.
Yeah.
And you wire one system up, and then you go to wire another system up, and you have to double check to see if electrical system 1 is dependent upon electrical system 2. Not only do you have to make sure electrical system 1 is working the way it was intended to, but you also have to make sure that electrical system 1 is in its proper states. Because there is a possibility in programming that you could say you meant to put the engine switches to start, but instead you put them to idle.
Right.
When it says on the display they're set to start, but you actually are putting them to idle, and you don't know why your engines are starting or not starting. So it's really, you have to go and make sure once one system is done, the other system that's dependent on it is working the way it's supposed to. And when system 1 state is in state 1, that everything, you know, it's all gotta merge together and work right.
The nice thing about doing this stuff, the way that you're doing it, you know, one area at a time, the nice thing is, what we will come to find out as the ones that are using it later, there's probably going to be less bugs than if he was just to, you know, do a sector of things and then put it out. Do a sector of things, put it out. And then all of a sudden release the update. Now you've got this whole bundle of things that could happen. And Andy's going, well, I need you to tell me where. What? You're still going to have to tell kind of what happens on a bug, but he's going to need less detail if you give him, you say, well, you know, the engine low pressure light came on when it should have been off. Well, then he's going to know where to go back and get to that a lot quicker than if he did all this at once. He's going to find himself going back through digging, where was that at? Where was that at? At least here he's got several ways of remembering, you know, to kind of help mark things where they are. I mean, at least I would think so. I mean, I'm not a programmer, but I would think that this makes it easier for you even in the future, because you're kind of being able to test these things as you program it, because they depend on each other. And so,
Well, yeah, this is true. You know, if I know that it's working the way it's supposed to, then it may be easier. You know, if somebody says, "Oh well, I flipped my engine switches to start, and when the generator came on, it said that the hydraulic low pressure light came on."
okay, hold that thought. Hold that thought
mean,
1 second. Someone mentioned on FB to me, you cannot land without having a star. That's not true, my friend. Yes, you can. I don't know if Andy's done it, but you do not have to have a star to land. Andy, you got
No,
any,
you don't have to have a star.
got any thought on that?
You
Because
don't have to have a star.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, I'm doing this Rip Fuel tour that Fly Virtual has. It's got 20 legs and it pushes aircrafts to the limit at some of the most interesting, and I would say especially not in the United States or Northern America, the most whacked out, interesting airports that you could find.
Oh, wow.
And I've practically seen just about every weird landing or descent that you could come up with. Some of my airports do not have stars. And at that rate, some of my airports don't even have a final approach to them. It's just slam dunk to the runway and there you go.
Guys, when there's not a star, the only thing mine has right here is I'm going to be going. Let me get to it, I'll tell you. Okay, so right now, okay, right now I'm on the waypoint that says 35,000A. The very next waypoint is Euler, and it's at 2424. Now that's my localizer as well, or at least somewhere within that vicinity. So I'm going from 35, well actually I'm going from 40,000 to 2,424 feet. Maybe you can explain to them kind of how that's going to work, Andy, because we're not following 10 different headings to get there. We're just going to be dropping to that waypoint.
Yeah, I've had them before, so I've had them where I started at 40,000 feet and the next waypoint is at 8,000 feet.
I have to.
Getting you ready for your landing. I mean, you need to be on top of it, because if you are not at 8,000 feet or below, you are stuck. And at that rate, you might as well just do a go around.
Yeah.
And try it again. Meet up with that 8,000 foot waypoint and go from there. In those cases, sometimes flight level change mode is your best friend, because you don't know what descent to make. The airplane itself is going to try and calculate a descent, but if it's too fast of a descent, in order to catch up with it, you're going to be too late and too high.
Mm-hmm.
So, flight level change mode can get you down to the altitude required for that particular waypoint. The other more difficult one is to insert your own waypoints to guide you down. I haven't quite figured out how that one works yet. I don't think most of us have, but that's my experience with these. You have two waypoints, one at the top, one at the bottom. It's kind of nerve-wracking.
It is. And, you know, you can use and I've done it, but you've got to know what you're doing. You can hit the altitude button and it's going to drop you. When I mean drop you, it's going to drop you. And the thing is that I've learned, I don't know about you, Andy, what I've learned is you got to pay attention to the distance remaining to get to that waypoint. And if it just says 3,000, not 3,000A, you got to be pretty much dead on with that waypoint if it don't have the above rule on it, or below. Well, below is going to even go faster, but I've learned that you really want to pay attention to where you are and how far do you got to go, and then you base on how you want to get there. So if you got to get to a waypoint and you only got 10 miles left, but you still got 800 feet to hit, well, then you know that you better be dropping quick. Or, well, let's say 8,000 is what I meant, because you can drop...
Yeah.
Any plane, you can drop 1,000 feet a minute, easy. Easy.
Yeah.
Now, in this big 748, I've never done it. I don't know what kind of dropping power I'm going to see in this puppy, but I bet this thing can really drop some feet quick if I wanted it to.
I've done it before. I had been at like 25,000 feet. There's this waypoint that says you need to be 12,000 feet or below in 6 miles. It's like, who the hell ever figured out how to do that one? I put that in flight level change mode and put the speed brake all the way up to 100. And we'll put it this way, by the time 6 miles came up, I was at 4,000 feet.
Wow.
It drops like a brick. I mean, full speed brake, flight level change
Did you use
mode
it?
on by the time you hit your...
So you did flight level, you didn't just hit the altitude button, right? You did the flight level change.
No, I did flight level change, yep. And I was, within 6 miles, I was at 4,000 feet because...
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. You coming over tomorrow? Hold on 1 second. You coming tomorrow? Alright, well, I love you. Be careful. When you get altitude flight level change, don't that turn off your VNAV?
So if you turn on flight level change mode, yes, it does turn off VNAV. Because VNAV follows a pre-programmed descent.
And then, won't that affect your LNAV as well? Don't you got to make sure?
It does not affect LNAV, no. It does not affect LNAV. Remember,
Okay.
LNAV is your lateral.
Oh, that's right. That's your lateral,
so
yeah. Okay.
Your headings. And VNAV is the vertical, so if you put on flight level change mode, you'll turn VNAV off.
Well, maybe you can explain to them, Andy, what is the difference between just hitting the altitude button and hitting the flight level change button? What is the difference?
Okay. So, I don't know why TFM on my end is running, that's weird.
I need to,
okay, so, the difference between, so the difference between, Alright, so the difference between flight level change and altitude intervene. So, on the navigation display of the airplane for sighted people, you have a descent profile. You also have a climb profile. Usually these descents and climbs in your flight plan are a magenta
30/14530/140.
So you can physically see on a graph what your climb and what your descent will look like. VNAV is what follows these pre-programmed or pre-planned climb and descent path that it has laid out for you, calculated by the waypoints and their distances. So flight level change mode is fairly easy. It turns off VNAV and it does not follow the plane's predetermined flight path on climb or descent. It will just drop.
30/14530/140.
Okay, I gotta interrupt you a second. I'm trying to put in my speed for my approach ref, and I'm typing 30/140, and then don't that go at
4 right?
Which one?
Put it in 4 right.
Okay, let's see if it did it. Okay, there we go. It did it that time. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay. Yeah. So flight level change mode is basically there to get you from one altitude to another and fast. So it will not follow the waypoint suggested flight path. It will break out of that magenta line and it will just ascend really fast or drop really fast. Altitude intervene is meant for if you are told, say, by ATC, descend and maintain 3,000 feet, and you are 58 miles away from the target, where they want you to be at 3,000 feet. You're at 5,000 feet, so you can put in your altitude and then get altitude intervene, and your plane will then descend to 3,000 feet from 5,000 feet, but it will use the calculated route that the flight plan told you to use.
Mm-hmm.
So it will not violate speed restrictions, it will not violate altitude restrictions in order to get there.
So the best thing to use
Whereas
is the flight level change, right?
So flight level change will violate all the flight plan's rules and recommendations to get to an altitude. Altitude intervene will follow the flight plan's rules and regulations to get to an altitude.
And that's just that altitude button right past the edit box, right? It just says altitude. That's it.
Yep, that's altitude intervene.
I guess when you on the 748, you don't got to execute the approach weather. It just says load, and then I hit that. It said light off, and then
Yep, there.
at the bottom it just says send and descent. But load already sends it, right? So it's already sent.
Yeah, you're already. If the light went out, then you're good.
Okay, so back to the leg page. There we go. 196 miles to go. Well, on that. 62 miles to go on the, well, you know what I mean. So, let's go to the, go ahead and do our descent.
Descent
Get out of the
checklist.
way.
Recall.
But I must say, man, for this not
Check.
being
No.
really
Check.
fully connected, I think it's a
Auto
pretty
brake.
flyable
Set.
aircraft.
Landing data.
Check.
Approach briefing.
I mean,
Completed.
people fly it all the time, don't they, Andy? They fly it all the time.
Checklist complete.
And
Yep.
the main thing is we can control the main functions of it, right? We can do, we can see our speed, we can see our altitude, our heading. We just can't use the hotkeys to set some of that stuff, and we got to go to the main panel. And what I do, I keep the main panel maximized. If I need it, I'll tab to it. Tell me how cool it would
Well,
be It'd be so cool if we had an iOS app where you could actually control one of your panels. Wouldn't that be freaking awesome?
Well, it's not out of the question. And we have done some light, simple exploration of that and
Yeah.
determined that it's entirely possible to do.
A little bit of work included, but
Of course. Well, yeah, I mean, you'd have to write iOS and Android apps and things like that, but it's entirely possible. I mean, there's additional software from FSU ITC guys that you would have to buy, but it's entirely doable.
right. We're over Arkansas right now, you guys. Mulvin, Arkansas, something like that.
You know, the 47 series is going to be a trip to do because, yeah, instead of depending, like, say, on one or two lights in the 37 to tell you when an engine's stable, you got like a pack of 8 lights that tell you when it's stable. And they have to flash on and flash off in a certain pattern.
Well, they didn't call this
But
one
here
the
again-
Queen of the Sky for nothing. I mean,
Yeah, but here again, you know, those lights are for the pilot to figure out.
Sure. I know a guy, you know, any listeners might be new. I've got a friend, he's been a pilot for, I'm just going to say a long time. I don't want to make him sound like he's ancient, but he's been a pilot for a very long time. You know, he's flown some of the older stuff in, you know, when we were in war. He didn't always fly the new stuff. You know, he's learned how to fly some of that older stuff, and he's also got the experience going from older to new, and you know, that's got to be a heck of an experience. It'd be like literally stepping into a time machine and all of a sudden, zoop, now you got this new stuff. You know, like, whoa, where'd that come from? But no, he's a real good guy. And we were talking about, you know, favorite aircraft and stuff. And he said, John, I know you fly in the sim or whatever. He said, but it's the same idea. They all operate different. And we have that one aircraft that we like the most. The one that we can count as our favorite. And I said, well, at the time I said, and I still say it's a 737. I love that jet. But I know that jet like the back of my freaking hand. But now I've been getting to touch this Queen of the Sky, and now I know why that's his favorite one to fly now. See, he used to fly nothing but 777s and did cargo all the time, and now he's upgraded, and now he's getting to fly the Queen of the Sky. And I'll tell you, those that might not know it, it's not every pilot that gets to take that position. Like flying the, you know, the Queen of the Sky, it's, if you get the opportunity, you take it, because if you don't, it'll probably never come again. And he said he jumped on that opportunity and he loves it. He said he said there really isn't more that I had to do. It's just new stuff that I had to learn from flying. You know, flying the 777 is a nice jet, but it's different. It's not the same necessarily when you jump into the 748. It is different. But he loves it, man. He absolutely loves it. These things can fly for quite a while. I don't know what the maximum time for them, but I know they can stay in the air for a while. Do you know that, Andy, what the maximum flight time is in the 748?
I think if I remember, it's like around 16 or 17 hours.
Yeah, I know the one thing I can tell you is, this is just from George telling me, depending on the flight, if they're doing a real long flight and they got a couple legs, you'll actually you'll have these times when you've got 2 pilots, sometimes 3 pilots on that same aircraft to take over after so long. You got to swing shifts. So you fly for a while and then you go lay down. And yes, you got your own room on them things. Tell me how cool that is.
Yep.
To have your own spot to go in and shut the door and lay down and feel the rumble bumble under your caboose.
Yep.
Well, why did it pause? Oh, never mind. I had it set that way. That scared the crap out of me. Daggone. All right. We got
Approaching top of descent.
approaching top of descent right now. Guess you guys probably heard that. And we're going to see what kind of drop is going to do naturally. Because like Andy was telling you, that it'll go by that flight path, and so even though it's still showing me the waypoint for 35,000, it's going to go ahead and start its descent to match up with this waypoint that it's got to meet to set 2424. I guess that's why it's doing a descent before it even gets to that waypoint.
Incoming call. Twitch. Chat input. Text field. Is editing. Word mode. Insertion pointed start. Message.
We got a phone call. Hold on. Hello? Yeah. Let me check. Hold on.
On the edge, nigga. He should be there. That's what I did. My cigarettes and stuff down. Unless you tell you didn't use it. Now you use that.
No, I don't think so. Sure ain't in the living room. I'm not feeling it here.
It should be right there on the edge of your desk.
Well, I'm looking and I'm not feeling nothing here. Hold on.
Because I had it, I laid my cigarettes and phone and lighter down there.
Well, I'm feeling all over. There's nothing. There's no lighter over here. Might be. I'll look in the living room when I get done here.
Huh?
I'll look in the living room. I'm not seeing it, Mom. When I get done here, I'll look better, but I didn't see it. Well, I don't know. I got my phone's about dead. It's on the charger. Hold on a minute. Crystal! Here, stand by a minute, guys. Hold on. Alright. Go see if Mom left her. Hold on, you guys. Alright, we're doing our descent. Hold on, she's coming. She can go look. Mom, just hold on. Alright, guess what we got going on here, you guys. Yeah, we're doing a drop at 1785 a minute. 1913 a minute. What does it look like? You're asking them. What color is it, Mom?
It's got different colors, purple.
Alright, well, when I get done here, Mom, I'll look around my desk better and see if I can find it.
She around the desk or
Hold on. Alright, you guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay, so we are at 32,000 feet. Minus 18.14 a minute, you guys, is what we're dropping at right now. We're at 31,200. So like Andy was telling you, it tried to, you know, it tries to match, you know, what's going on, you know, what the waypoints are and stuff like that, but you found it? Oh, she found it. Alright, good deal. Now, I'll tell you guys, for me, I don't know about Andy. And Andy, you can answer this too if you want. When I look at my flight plan and I look at my leg page, and I'm looking at my waypoint where my localizer is, and if it says 3000A or 4000A, I get rid of the A. I get rid of it because this is the way I see it. On an ILS, you're going to catch that ILS, and that rule is no longer going to matter. So you could have 90,000 in the thing. It's not going to matter because it's going to follow the ILS. ILS is going to go by the rules for landing the airplane. A good rule of thumb that Declan taught me today, he said, John, what you should do is when you get to cruise altitude, set your localizer altitude into your altitude. Set it so when you're at cruise, set the altitude. Let's say the localizer was 3,000. You put 3,000 in there. And then once you catch the localizer, you then set the altitude to whatever your holding is going to be if you had to do a go around. So if it was 4,000 feet, put the altitude for 4,000. That way, if there's a missed approach, all you gotta do is hit your toga button and, you know, hit it twice, and that will initiate a go around, and then you ain't gotta deal with the altitude. Putting it in, it's already gonna be there, and your plane will start climbing where it needs to be. I like that rule. It's not a rule, it's a suggestion. What do you think, Andy? Do you do anything similar to that, or do you just put your altitude in? If you got to do a go around, you put it in when you got to do the go around?
So what I do, I don't remove the at or above. And the reason why is because it's a safety guarantee that if it tells me at or above, then I'm never going to fail that waypoint's requirements. And sometimes it'll keep you on track too, because it's, let's say you set your you're on descent. One second. You
R.
I'm waiting for the IRS.
110.30.
But just as an example,
Hold on, if the
let's
course
say
says
you're on
0.8, that means the course is just 0?
Well, if it says 0.8, then you're probably going to want 1. Heading 1.
So 110.30. Yeah, first officer done got it set, but it's got it set to, it's got 0 in there. $110.30.
Oh, yeah. You do that.
Alright, let's check
You
it.
can do that too.
Alright, we'll just leave it there, I guess.
But no, I don't take the at or above or at or below part off, because it's a guarantee that you're going to meet that altitude.
So if I hit the intervene button, that lets me control the speed, right?
Yeah, if you hit speed intervene, then it will let you control the speed. So put the speed intervene on and then type in your speed and press enter. Altitude intervene is different. You have to press the altitude intervene afterwards.
Well, I hit speed intervene, but it ain't. Come on.
You may have to just... Do you have a hotkey set up for it? So like you can just press it, like mine is Alt S.
Well... There we go.
Istanbul. That's where I went yesterday. Istanbul.
Autopilot off.
Why did it?
Autopilot on. Autopilot off.
For some
Transition
reason,
altitude.
it killed my autopilot. Why?
Autopilot on.
That shouldn't happen.
Autopilot off. Autopilot on. Autopilot off. Autopilot on. Autopilot off. Autopilot on. Autopilot off. Autopilot on. Autopilot off.
Why are you
Autopilot
going
on.
off? And now I'm getting this master.
Autopilot off. Autopilot on. Autopilot off. Autopilot on. Autopilot off.
Now I
Autopilot
can't
on.
get the alarm to shut up.
Autopilot off. Autopilot on. Autopilot off. Autopilot on.
Come on.
Autopilot off. Autopilot on. Autopilot off.
God, I'm gonna do something for a minute. I'm pausing for a minute because I don't understand. But I know that alarm's gonna go off again. I'm gonna do something real quick. Now, let's see something. Yeah, I know where it started going. Ring, ring, autopilot off.
Yeah, and I don't know why he did that. Because he shouldn't have done that.
Shift Control M.
Autopilot on.
Round for the time.
Autopilot off. Autopilot on.
Ready for pushback.
Autopilot off. Autopilot on. Autopilot off.
Start engines.
Autopilot on.
I have to get ready for this.
Autopilot off.
Spring night fighting.
There we go. So,
Be lots of fun. I screwed up yesterday and pushed back on full throttle, so when we started the engines up. Yeah.
Really?
Yep. Why did auto brake turn on? That was pretty...
ILS set. Flaps 1. Flaps 5.
Drag required. Drag required.
Autopilot on. Autopilot off.
Guys, I don't know what's going on, but something went wrong here. We'll see what it does.
Overspeed warning. Overspeed warning.
10, 20, 50, 100.
No, that flight's
Overspeed
done.
warning.
I don't know what happened. What to do it over, I
Overspeed
guess.
warning.
I don't understand what kicked off the autopilot.
Overspeed warning.
That doesn't make any sense to me. At all.
Overspeed
Yeah,
warning.
I don't know.
So, we'll do this again,
Overspeed
guys,
warning.
in a little bit. I don't know what
Overspeed
calls that, but we'll do it over. Something calls it.
Overspeed warning.
Not sure what, but it definitely did.
Overspeed warning.
Why would it turn off autopilot? That's weird. Anyway, we'll try to get in here in a little bit, you guys. I don't know what went wrong there. I know this is a good plane to fly. I've seen others fly it, no problem. So, just a fluke accident, I guess. But we'll try it again. We'll do another stream in a little bit. We'll go ahead and get out of here for now. But once we do this flight again, we'll stream it. And hopefully the next one will be better. I know it will be. I don't understand why. I don't know. Maybe my finger hit a button on accident. Who knows? I don't know. But we'll do it again.
Yeah, you never know.
Live and learn, I guess. So